thickness of your hair. How do you push the electrode to the brain?
So what you do is you actually send a certain number of them. You have a bundle, and then the bundle would be, the nanowires would be allowed to float into the bloodstream until they can go no further. At the moment, we can wire a rat. We can leave the electrodes in the spinal cord. We want to know, if we do so, how long do the wires continue to work properly. We're talking about 5 years worth of very basic research that needs to be done. It's interesting because it would be almost a perfect way to implement something known as man-machine interface. If you can stimulate the brain, you can stimulate vision, you can stimulate auditory cortex, you can stimulate movement, you can stimulate the passions, you can stimulate desires, you can basically address your brain directly.
Well, I think the idea as a whole sounds very science fiction-like. That idea also being so simple captured people's imagination. They could see and imagine that such a technology indeed could be realized.
If you want to really project and say, would it be possible to feel that you're on a beach and have the sensations and even the pleasure of being on the beach without going by brain stimulation, the answer is, well, in principle, it could be done. What else can you do? Well, you can, of course, in principle, communicate with another person directly. Not only just your thoughts, but in principle, your feelings. So if you can get very close to somebody, you can get into their minds, and vice versa. Now, the implications of that are pretty obvious. It may be a mutual situation, or it may be a one direction. Somebody gets into your brain, into your mind.
The National Security Agency, the NSA, visited us, and these guys they sort of have a mystique, being members of the intelligence community. The people who came are very smart. They're dressed in suits that cost more than I make in a year. I think some of their interest is potentially sinister. So, pure fantasy. You could imagine a group of people doing a job in the military, becoming continuously aware of their existence and what they're doing. So suddenly you have not a human, but a group of people that behave as a single entity. We could call this something like a wolf pack. You would have a collective consciousness, a collective understanding. You would be basically a rather strange new device. This happened before in evolution, by the way. We used to be single-cell organisms, and now we are groups of single-cell organisms, as animals. Right? We'll be able to do things that we can't even imagine right now in so little time that one person could do the work of 20. But at the same time, there are other concerns. If we're able to interface directly with the brain this way, what's to say that the device you're using isn't reading your mind or controlling it? So I think there's a delicate balance that has to be made between how much any device that we connect to the brain is there to help us and how much it's there to monitor or control us. We should be controlling things. Things should not be controlling us.
Now, is this to be done? Should it be done? Can it be done? Well, something like that probably could be done. The upside, of course, is if you can understand, if you can feel like other persons feel, the possibility is that you would understand better. So we could, in fact, become much better human beings, because one thing that we lack often is the ability to put oneself in other people's shoes. The downside is, of course, very clear. You begin to lose your individuality. We will be evolving into a rather different social entity. At the moment, we negotiate. At the moment, Our relations are mostly saying what we want other people to hear. We think other people, and we of course hide many aspects of what we're thinking. That's, in fact, the basis for politics, the basis for negotiations of any type. It is therefore very important for some people not to be totally transparent.
I think that's going to be a big change in the way we interact with reality.
The idea of being able to wire people's brains together in this way to give us the ability to directly beam our thoughts to one another sounds like science fiction. It really does. But basically right now we have proof of concept of a number of these things.
Man-machine interface obviously is one of the things that is going to happen. Absolutely.
When I was a kid, only governments and corporations had computers. Then we got one in school, and suddenly they were everywhere. In our houses, cars, watches, toasters. Then they started putting them in humans. At first I thought, this is just weird. Then Lena, my best friend, got one. And the boy who lived across the street. And half the girls on my volleyball team. Suddenly I had to have one. It was embarrassing not to be on the whim. I could only communicate by talking or texting. Very slow. So I saved up money from my drugstore job and I went in. Surgery only took a few hours. Took a lot longer to recuperate. Learn how to use this powerful new life. You know, at first, it was all a little too much. Confusing. Disorienting. Thoughts flying around and around my head like moths. But then I got a handle on it. I learned how to use the worldwide mind correctly, and it was the greatest thing I've ever done. Suddenly, I didn't have to type in internet searches. I just had to wonder something, and the answer was just there. Now I know how to speak Mandarin, how to make the perfect pineapple upside-down cake, and that the capital of Delaware is Dover.
So what does all this worldwide mind business really mean? Are we all on the cusp of an evolutionary jump? Are we morphing into a new species, half human, half robot? And how should we feel about this? Optimistic? Pessimistic? Ambivalent? Well, one thing is for certain. Change is coming, and it's coming quickly. And this change is transforming not only our world, but ourselves.
And the future is a serious place. When I wrote Brave New World, it was fiction, but it was also a warning. If all this technology is used in the wrong way, by the wrong people, things could turn out very badly for the human race.
Oh, Hux. Oh, I think it's time to send our guests home. And hear one last time from our experts.
The idea of the worldwide mind is that humanity as a whole has a certain degree of intelligence. There is some kind of collective thinking process that we engage in small groups, in companies, in countries, and that by increasing the ability of people to communicate, we increase the intelligence of the entire planet.
Eventually, the kinds of technologies that allow someone with severe paralysis to move a prosthetic arm with their BrainGate chip will allow them to have control over their body, control over their thoughts and emotions, and interface with computers in ways that we will see as valuable for ourselves.
There's no point of pretending that all of evolution before this point should be ignored, and the nicest thing to do would be to curl up in a little electronic ball and, meow back and forth with the others stationed around the globe.
It would be absolute catastrophe and the end of things. On the other hand, the beginning of a totally different organization, where we actually understand that being alive is so absolutely incredible and so unique.
I think the future is going to be a lot stranger than anyone imagines.
That's it for now. I'm Robin Robinson for the 22nd Century.
It's good to have the clicker. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, technological milestones. 2007, astral projection. 2020, Mars landing. 2030, worldwide mind.
To talk to the producers of 22nd Century and suggest ideas for new shows, log on to our website at pbs.org. To order 22nd Century on DVD, call PBS Home Video at 1-800-PLAY-PBS.